Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is the very first episode of Sharing with Shellshock. I am your host, ShellshockPrime, and this is a discussion show, like a podcast show, where we talk about different topics depending on whichever is relevant to the discussion. In this case, it's the future of Mega Man, and I will always have a guest for every time that I have this show. So glad you guys are tuning in to support. So my first guest for this first episode, and the guest for tonight is none other than my buddy Max OneOneTwo. OneOneTwo?
Hey, how's it going? I'm very honored to be here. I've been a Mega Man fan for pretty much my entire life and just have a huge passion for the series, so I appreciate being able to share it on this show. And Dragon X Flame 323, thank you. I appreciate the compliment about the helmet. Someone gifted this to me.
Yeah. And I'm just glad that everybody is here to check this podcast out, because this is the first time I'm doing anything like this on my own. And so let's just hope that everything goes well tonight. And I'm looking forward to just talking about Mega Man tonight in general. But yeah,
indeed.
But yeah, before we get started in like talking about the future of Mega Man, first and foremost, so let's introduce you. What exactly do you do, like, in regards to content?
So, hi, I'm OneOneTwo. The main place you can find me is on the R Mega Man subreddit. So I'm one of the administrators there. I've been doing this for about 4 years. I'm also on the Discord, which is discord.gg/Megaman. It is a great place to talk to other Mega Man fans. We have a lot of experts in the chat who can help with tips or tricks, or if you just want to fanboy, fangirl out about the series, definitely a great place to do so. Besides that, I also stream on my own channel. I mostly stream action games. Sometimes I'll play something else. Right now, I'm actually streaming Mighty Number 9 of all things. So yeah, close to Mega Man, not quite, but close enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I've seen you stream a little bit of Mighty Number 9 recently, and yeah, that game is definitely something else.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, welcome everyone to the chat so far. Dragonflame, Mr. Ben, and Prince of Spades. And to everybody else that's coming in, anyone just tuning in, watching, just lurking, welcome as well.
Yes, welcome.
So yeah. But yeah, Mighty Number 9 is a game that I know that eventually I'm going to be streaming, because I was actually gifted a copy thanks to a good buddy of mine, Professor Icepick. He sent me a copy. I'm going to be doing it this year. When? I don't know, but we'll figure that out.
I hope that when you play the game, you realize that despite the horrible mess that the Kickstarter was, unequivocally so, it was mismanaged and there was almost no communication for the entirety of the project. There was also just a bunch of controversies and scandals. Despite all that, the game came out okay. It plays fine. The levels aren't awful. There's 2 levels that aren't great, which is Capitol Building due to the lack of checkpoints, and Waterworks, mostly because of the very precise dash under the saw blade. Or sorry, that's not Waterworks, that's the power plant stage. But besides those 2 stupid level designs, the game's all right. It plays well. The special weapons in that game are awesome. It's better than some of the Mega Man games even. Yeah. And part of the reason why I'm streaming it is I want people to see that it's not a dumpster fire. It's probably better than Mega Man X6 or X7, honestly. And people should, at the very least, give it a chance, especially since it goes on sale for like $3 pretty frequently. Yeah. So I do like the game. I do think it's okay. Is it the best game ever? No. Should it have been a lot better? Yes. But I do think it is worth playing.
Well, I'll definitely get to that at some point this year. But I'll figure out when. But stay tuned for that once that happens. But yeah, so as far as everything goes, so we're not here to talk about Mighty Number 9, to be honest. We're here to talk about Mega Man. That's the reason that, like, we're having this discussion in the first place. This is the first episode, so, and before we get started on the topic, one thing I will say is that this was something that I've actually been planning with you for almost a year now, but we never got a chance. We never got around to doing things. Let's just say, without going, like, into huge detail, life just gets in the way too much.
Absolutely, especially with the pandemic and whatnot. And I'm in college, so that also makes things a little trickier.
Also, this is a good time to highlight to test a new thing that I'm doing right now, where I'm going to be highlighting a particular message. Like, for example, also thank you for the raid chat. I'll give you a shout out in just a moment.
Hey, Shad, how you doing?
Anyway, so what we got right here is a highlighted chat where you get to see like a particular like comment, and we highlight it. So we just talk about like what was said. Like, all right, so Mr. Ben here says, okay, the only reason I asked about the version that he asked me which version of Mighty Number 9 I'm going to be playing, which I said PC. So he asked because, as far as he's aware, the PC version has performance issues that could cause it to start glitching out.
In the time that I've played the game, and I played the game for about 5 hours on stream a couple days ago, the performance wasn't perfect. There were definitely a few levels where it stuttered a little bit. In particular, power plant, waterworks, and highway were the big sort of problem areas, but it usually wasn't that terrible. I don't think there's that many performance issues. There were certainly no glitches from what I've seen. I would argue the PC version is actually probably the most stable version of the game to play.
Yeah.
Because it was developed for that first.
Yeah, it was.
Don't play the Wii U version, though. That bad idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't brick your console. That was a myth, but don't play it.
Yeah, that was the version that I tried to play, and it just didn't work out. So unfortunately, yeah. But everyone just coming in right now. Want to say hey Shad, hey, also hey Cutie Caitlin, good to see you as well. Hope you're doing well.
Hey Caitlin, how you doing?
And also to everyone in general. Right now, I will say, I'll keep that in mind for when I play Mario. I was about to say Mario number 9, Mighty number 9. Sorry,
Mario number 9. Jeez.
No, it's just a slip of the tongue. But anyway, so let's talk about the very first topic. So the first topic that I want to talk about is how do you get into Mega Man? And that's something that I've been wanting to know. Also, hey Top Dog, good to see you.
Hello. So the way I got into Mega Man was the first game I played was Mega Man Anniversary Collection, and I believe I just sort of saw it on a store shelf. I just was like, oh, this game looks interesting. I tried it out. I got my butt handed to me because I played the games in order. I started with Cutman stage in the first game, and I didn't really know what I was doing. The Bunby Hellies killed me very quickly because they swarm you if you don't take them out from afar. And eventually, I sort of learned the game's rules through trial and error, even though I probably got a game over hundreds, if not thousands of times in Mega Man 1. It sort of prepared me for the rest of what the series had to offer.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the reason why I love this series, is because even though it is harder than average, if you know what you're doing and you know what's coming next, you can pretty much always complete the game. There's very few luck-based elements in Mega Man. It's very skill-based and allows players to learn so much about the game and the franchise. There's always something more to learn. And that's especially evident in the first 8 games, which is what I played in the Anniversary Collection. Mm-hmm. I just went 1 through 8 and then Power Battles and Power Fighters, which are all great games for their own reasons. I know some people aren't hot on Mega Man 1 or 3. Personally, I kind of enjoy all of them, but I do recommend people start out with one of the games in one of those 10 games, just because it's a great place to start. The one thing I will say is I would prefer that you play them on the Legacy Collection and not the GameCube Anniversary Collection, because I understand that the Anniversary Collection has more games compared to Legacy Collection, 10 versus 6. But Anniversary Collection suffers from some pretty nasty frame rate issues, and they also use the PlayStation 1 versions of the games, which have their own problems. They have some cool aspects to them, like the ability to hotkey your weapon switching, but it's better to play the NES versions first, which is replicated almost perfectly on the Legacy Collection.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, the thing about that is I've seen because I will say that was what got me back into Mega Man after not playing for a while. But I will say the emulation in that is hit and miss. And I will say Mega Man 7 actually suffered more on GameCube than it did on the other platforms for some reason. I don't know why, but the music is slightly higher pitch than normal. Mega Man.
I believe it's due to some sort of hardware issue. I know one of the biggest problems was that they could not emulate Mode 7 when they were originally creating the game, which means that the background and the ending of Mega Man 7 doesn't show because they couldn't do Mode 7, which sucks because that was a really cool background. And that sort of permeated throughout the game frequently. As Chili7 points out, yes, on GameCube especially, the A and B buttons are swapped where B is shoot and A is jump, which makes no sense if you played any other game in the series.
That's because of the fact that they were going by how PlayStation worked,
right,
and they never bothered to change it on GameCube.
Sucks.
It sucks.
PS2 and Xbox versions run a lot better though.
Yeah, but yeah, Mega Man Anniversary Collection was a good starting point at the time, but now there's much better options to start with, like whether if it's like Virtual Console or if you want to do the Legacy Collection, there's options. Legacy Collection is more accessible right now, at least, because you get all 6 games in one package, and then you have Legacy Collection 2 for the other 4.
And of course, the X and Zero collections.
Yes, exactly. All right. Before I read any of the responses in chat, I'll go next in regards to how I got into Mega Man. So not too long after my birthday, when I was about 8 years old, my uncle gave us Mega Man 3 for the NES. Like I was trying to remember, was it 2 or 3? It was actually, I remember now it was actually 3, because I remember like the first stage that I actually did was Magnet Man, and and at the time I didn't really understand the game. Like I didn't really get the whole run and gun. Then again, I played other run and gun games before. I played Contra and Super C, but this was different because it was a bit slower paced compared to Contra, but at the same time, what I've learned about Mega Man over the years is how like you have to be strategic in where you go, how you jump, how you use your weapons, how do you be able to maneuver, like where you have to go and fight these enemies, all the robot masters. That's the thing. There's just so much to Mega Man that as a little kid I didn't really get it. But the Mega Man game that really got me into Mega Man more was Mega Man X4 on the Sega Saturn, which runs better on Saturn than it does on PlayStation. I'll say that much.
Yeah, there's like these heat wave effects on Magma Dragoon's level, which is really cool.
Yeah, because the thing is, remember, Sega Saturn was a system where like it was originally just going to be 2D only.
2D games, yeah.
But they tacked on 3. They had to add 3D because of the fact that PlayStation was coming out and that was going to be a 3D system. So they wanted to compete, and it was common knowledge that the 2D Capcom games that were on Saturn and PlayStation, the Saturn version always ran better.
Right.
So, and Mega Man X4, and by that extension, Mega Man 8 were no exception.
Right.
Yeah.
And 8 even had some different songs between them, such as Tengu Man Stage, sounding very different and arguably better. You can make your own call. And some of the graphical effects are slightly different.
Yeah, and then there were 2 secret bosses in general.
Yeah, Cutman and Woodman.
Yeah, Cutman and Woodman. You would actually get to fight them at some point in the game. I actually almost got Mega Man 8 for my birthday. I ended up getting a different game in general. I don't remember which one, but I almost got Mega Man 8. Sega Saturn, mind you, which is actually a lot more expensive to get now than the PlayStation version.
Well, if you were almost going to get a Sega Saturn Mega Man game, then it had to have been X4, because those are the only 2 Mega Man games on the Saturn, because X5 and X6 never released there.
Yeah, like X3 was only in like Europe and Japan. It never came. That version never came out here.
Never came out here.
Same thing with PlayStation. But yeah. What also got me into Mega Man around that time, at the same time that I actually got into Mega Man 3, was when I was watching the cartoon, like the cartoon from the 90s, from Ruby Spears, where now today like people meme that a lot, but it has a really awesome theme song, which in itself is amazing. Where it's a super fighting robots, Mega Man, that is just amazing. I was like 8 years old when I watched that show. I absolutely love that show so much.
The theme song is different per region too, which is very interesting.
And there was a second season, and they played different music at the during the credits, but during the intro was always the same, but the credits was different. There was going to be a season. They had a season 3 plan as well as a Mega Man X spin-off show, but the show was canceled. But they ended up making one more episode for season 2, which
Mega X, yeah.
No, Mega X was part of season 2 initially, but the episode was called Crime of the Century. It was.
Oh yes.
And they actually phoned it in very hard, and they knew that the show was already canceled as it is, so they just didn't really care. And it was the only episode that aired in '96 because '94 was season 1 and '95 was season 2.
Yep.
Yeah, so we would have got Mega Man like season 3 in '96 as well as a Mega Man X cartoon around that time. I think the Mega Man X cartoon could have been pretty cool. But yeah,
it might have been interesting. Based on what we saw though, with Spark Mandrill and Vile and misspelling Sigma with a C, maybe it's for the best that one didn't see the light of day at the end of the day.
Though technically speaking, Mega Man 3 and Mega Man cartoon were not my first experiences with Mega Man. You want to know what was?
Which one?
It was actually another cartoon, Captain N the Game Master.
Oh, Captain N, yeah, with the chain smoker. Make it high! And
that show sucks.
We had a watch party of that on our Mega Man where we watched the whole series, and there are many things about that show that have not aged gracefully.
Yeah. All right, so before we move on to the next topic, I'm going to read out some of the stuff in my chat just to see what people have said. For example, Keyblade said he first played Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, which also included a demo for Mega Man Powered Up, so he fell in love with the series.
That is another really good starting place, honestly, because it sort of introduces you to Mega Man X. I mean, it's different slightly. You can play as Vile, the armor capsules are switched around, and there's some other differences. I wouldn't say it replaces the original, but it is still a great game in its own right, and it sort of prepares you for everything else the series throws at you afterwards.
Yeah.
Despite the inconsistent canon, which sort of led to issues with Deus Sigma being included in the Legacy Collection.
Yeah, and Keyblade would go on to say that he also played Battle Network 1, but have yet to play it again since it's kind of hard to find nowadays. That's fair, yeah. And I'm hoping that we do get a collection at some point to remedy the fact that it needs to be more widely available.
Especially because it's on the Wii U Virtual Console. That's really the only way you can play right now, and that's shutting down in 2023.
Yes, so
before then.
But that still, we do need to get the collection at some point. So
I'm really nervous that when people play Battle Network, they're going to get stuck on a few levels in the first game because they didn't really get the game balance of the game right until 2 and 3 later. Because the first game has some really nasty dungeons, especially Elecman's power plant. Ooh, that one is kind of yikes.
Yeah. Mr. Ben actually says this. I first played the old NES Mega Man games as a young child. I didn't understand the game, and I didn't care for it at first. I didn't get back into the series until a few years later when I rented out Mega Man X and started getting better. And he would go on to say, the more I played, the better I got, and the more I started to love the series. Picked up Battle Network, got the Anniversary Collection on PS2. There's also the question of which game that's the best to start with. Mega Man 2 is the best classic game version to start with since it's the most iconic title of the original series, but 3 gave us the slide and 4 gave us the Buster Shot, yes. The charge shot, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I corrected myself saying the charge shot.
I was going to say, I would actually argue Mega Man 11 is probably the easiest one to start with at this point, especially due to its various difficulty levels, especially newcomer mode, which gives you infinite lives and infinite beat calls. That's very helpful to someone who doesn't play these types of platforming games. I agree, Mega Man 2 is another good place to start, especially because of the normal difficulty level, which makes the game easier due to having all the damage values that you take.
Yeah.
Especially the end game with Wily Stage 4 and Boo Beam Trap, and Wily 5 having Wily Machine 2, which has literally undodgeable attacks. I could see some people quitting before they get to the Alien in Wily 6. So I would say 11 or X1 is another good place to start in the X Legacy Collection. But yeah, 11 with its newcomer and casual difficulties is probably a little bit better for first-time players.
Yeah. Let's see. So Top Dog, yeah, you should definitely try out Mega Man. Like they're really good games. We both highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Then the next highlighted comment I'm gonna put is from Dragon. Dragon says, I didn't discover Mega Man until years later as a young adult. The first one is rough to go back to. But I think that all the others aged a lot better. Agreed, exactly. They did.
I would actually argue in some ways one may have aged a little bit better than two because two's Fortress really takes a dip in quality at Wily's 4, 5, and 6, whereas one's problem really came down to two particular levels, being Elecman stage for being a little too vertical, which they later fixed in the other games. As you've noticed, there's not that many vertical Mega Man levels after Elecman. There's some levels where you go down, like Quickman stage or Zero Stage 1 and X5, but the amount of levels where you go up is very rare. The only really time they tried that again was Solar Man stage in 10. But the other level is obviously Wily 1 because you need the magnet beam, which the game does not tell you about. So if you go into Wily 1 without the magnet beam, oh well, time to die and go grab it from Elecman stage.
Pretty much. But yeah, looking at everything else, let's see. Clearly, Mega Man 8 with the botch VA is the superior starter game. Oh, man.
Fun fact about that, the voice actor for Mega Man, Ruth Shirashi, I believe is how you pronounce it, did not know how to pronounce Bass's name until an interview 25 years later.
Yeah.
Oops, that's why it's Bass.
Yeah. And also, welcome, Corin. And also, another thing I want to bring up real quick is that, and yes, Galaxy Man stage is too good.
Yeah, that level is great with the music Galaxy Fantasy. Masterpiece.
But what I wanted to bring up was that the Mega Man 8 voice actors, and by that same extension, Mega Man X4, they're just people that Capcom in Japan just pulled in the streets just to get localization for the United States. And by pull for the streets, like Japan.
Right.
Because Ruth Shirashi is a travel agent in Japan, like, taking not really a travel agent but a tour guide, like taking people from Japan because she speaks English. Anyone that's visiting Japan, like, she will at least speak in English, telling them exactly where you go, how things go over there. So they did the same thing with Resident Evil, where they pull people, both the voice actors and the live action actors. They did that.
They would do that again with X7. They didn't really contract as professional as, say, X8 and onwards. X8 is where they really started to care about the voice acting, in my opinion. Yeah. And they started getting more established voice actors from the industry. And I mean, Mark Gappa is X8, Maverick Hunter X Command Mission. He's awesome. He's an orthopedic surgeon now, so the chances of him coming back for an X9 are probably pretty slim, but who knows? And Lucas Gilbertson is Zero. I mean, he's iconic at this point. So and a lot of the same voice actors from X7 also returned in ZX Advent. For example, I know people really do not like X7X. Understandable, I get it. But Peter Von Gamm is a lot better as Gray in ZX Advent. And I know you haven't played that game yet, but I'm sure you'll see what I mean when you play the game.
Yeah. And also, like, my thing is that when it comes to like how they did that back in the day, they just ended up just getting all these people. And a lot of them were not really all that good in voice acting. There were a few exceptions, but most of them just didn't really know. And yeah, Peter Von Gamm was Frank West and Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Yes, you're right.
He's also the White Bomber in Super Bomberman R.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. All right, so now let's move on to the next topic. So, like, what are your favorite Mega Man games of all time?
Well, I will say that my single favorite game of all time, just in general, is Mega Man X. Just because it's a game I speedrun. I go back to it pretty much every week, at least. It's just a game that I love playing and replaying because there's so many different ways to tackle it. And there's so many different ways to experience Mega Man X. One thing I recommend people try getting Chill Penguin's dash parts last, because it makes the game a lot harder. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Mega Man X is too easy. That's because they don't necessarily expect you to go to Chill Penguin stage first. And it makes the game a lot more interesting because of the fact that it's so much harder. And there's just so many different ways to tackle it. There's speed runs, there's minimalist runs. Don't use the weapons, use all the weapons, use only the weapons. It's such a tightly designed game from start to finish. The story is very simple, but it's effective. It doesn't have any BS or any characters that sort of never come back. And it's just, to the point, exhilarating, fast-paced action from start to finish. And that's why it's my favorite game of all time, especially with how it influenced gaming as a whole.
Right.
Besides that, Mega Man 9 is incredible. It's definitely one of the harder Mega Man games, but it's one of the games that makes you use the special weapons to their fullest extent, which is one of the reasons why Mega Man became iconic. There's 8 different weapons in each game, besides Mega Man 1, of course.
Yeah.
And that means there's so many different ways to tackle each game, which gets back to the experimentation thing you were talking about earlier, with how there's always more to learn and more to discover. That's why I think Mega Man 9 is so good. Is sure, the charge shot and slide may not be there unless you play as Proto Man, but the special weapons are amazing, which sort of, I don't want to say it necessarily replaces the charge shot, but the game is balanced around you using them, and that's why it's so much fun. As Mr. Ben says, Mega Man 11 is incredible and is another one of my favorite games of all time, along with Mega Man 9, just for how the power gear and speed gear change the dynamics of the game and allows you to just blaze through the levels with some remarkable speed. And the fact that Kazuhiro Tsuchiya and his team looked back on every previous Mega Man game in order to make Mega Man 11 shows how much passion and care they had for it. Sure, it's a bit short, but that's one of the reasons why it's fun. You can beat that game in under an hour if you know what you're doing, and that's pretty fun to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'll truncate it in a minute. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just seeing people dissect each and every game to see exactly what you can do, and seeing new type of strategies that people come up with just to get through these games a lot faster, and also like how people play the games. I always find them interesting to see how people play Mega Man, and it's always fun.
Absolutely. Just 2 more real quick that I want to shout out from my favorites in the series.
Okay.
Mega Man 03, the amount of just things you can do and how many EX skills you can get, the combos in that game, you can become quite literally an overpowered, unstoppable beast if you know what you're doing, especially if you're at a high rank, because you can combo all the EX skills into each other. And the recoil rod is one of the best tools in any Mega Man game. It's so much fun to utilize. And of course, everyone loves the story from 03. I won't spoil it for if you haven't played it, but it's something else. And the last game I'll highlight real quick, and a game that I feel does not get talked about enough, is Mega Man Battle Network 6. That game rocks. It takes everything from the first 5 games and fine-tunes it to near perfection. 3 may have had the better story with how impactful it was, but 6's gameplay mechanics are so much fun to experience, and I think that game deserves to be talked about more.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, it hopefully will when the collection comes out. But
hopefully, yeah.
I love almost all the games, frankly.
Yeah. And just one thing real quick. The only to Professor Icepick, the only Battle Network game I ever actually played was the first one, but I never finished it. I don't know why. I just never really. I keep trying to get into it, and I don't know. This is something I just couldn't get into, and I don't know why.
I would argue it's because of the simplicity of Battle Network 1. They didn't really have all the mechanics fully thought out yet, because it was really supposed to be a horror game, which is very interesting, but then it eventually turned into an action RPG. Yeah, it was originally going to be a horror game.
That's actually interesting.
And it sort of turned into an action RPG midway through development, and as such, they didn't really get to fully think out all of the mechanics. Battle Network 2 is what I consider sort of the best starter game, in my opinion, because the mechanics are more established and better balanced, because Battle Network 1's bosses can kill you very quickly if you don't know what you're doing, and it sort of has some elements that are a lot easier than they should be, and some others that are a lot more annoying. Iceman's whole scenario in particular was extremely irritating and is something I definitely do not look forward to upon replaying. But there are things to love about Battle Network 1.
Yeah. All right. So before I highlight some of the chat messages just to talk about what they've been talking about, I'll go next in regards to what are my favorite Mega Man games. Well, 2 is definitely a no-brainer. That's an obvious one, but I don't really need to say anything about Mega Man 2 that hasn't already been said. But there's other ones that I do want to talk about. I really like Mega Man 10 a whole lot. Now, I know there are some people who like 10. There are people who didn't like 10 as much. I personally like it a lot more than than Mega Man 9. I liked a lot of the bosses, like Sheep Man. I also like Commando Man, Chill Man.
Yeah, Chill Man.
Yeah, Chill Man's music is actually like one of my favorites from that one. for that game.
Yeah, Absolute Chill is a banger theme. And to that point, one of the best, and I'm just getting this up to make sure I know what I'm talking about, but
Yes.
one of the best elements of Mega Man 10's soundtrack is that it was done by pretty much every previous composer who had worked on the classic series up to that point, which is just such a cool idea. And if you're wondering who did Chill Man Stage, it was Shusako Uchiyama, who I want to say he did Mega Man 8, but I'm going to double check that.
Yeah, but I will say though that I like the whole storyline about like the Robo Enza virus, which I really think is a precursor to the. I really like that the theory that I have for the Robo Enza virus is that it's a precursor to the Sigma virus, because I really think that at some point that Zero contracts it before he was sealed off for years. But that's another story. But I will say Mega Man 10 to me is the best classic game in the series.
It is a really good game for sure.
And I will say though that other games in the series that I do like, I also enjoyed Mega Man 11. The main low point that I have for Mega Man 11 is that after the boss rush in the third Wily stage, it just ends. Like I was expecting a boss to show up after that, but no, it just ends there. And also, the Wily stage 4, the stage itself, like leading up to Wily, was not really impressive, but the Wily fight was. I actually like the Wily fight.
I don't know what they did with Gear Fortress 4, because you're on a moving platform for almost the entire level before the boss fight, which is very strange because most of the Mega Man 11 levels are about pure speed and using the weapons to your fullest extent, whereas in Gear Fortress 4, the most you can do is pile driver over the spike pit and thunderstorm the whatever the flying enemies are called. It's very strange. And on superhero mode, they give you a Yashichi, which refills all of your health and weapon energy. Why? You don't even lose special weapon ammo between levels anymore. That's such a strange choice. But as you said, Wily Machine 11 is an amazing fight, especially because in the second phase, you could kill him in 4 hits using Acid Barrier, which is awesome.
Yeah, but let's see. So other games that I actually enjoyed. Mega Man X1, Mega Man X4, Mega Man X4 being my first Mega Man X game. To me, I think it's the best game in the series, with X1 being a very close second. And the only other Mega Man X game that I would probably like highlight that I actually liked was Mega Man X2. Not as much as X1 and X4, but Mega Man X2 was pretty good for its own right. The only thing about Mega Man X2 that I didn't really like were the X Hunters.
Yeah, the X Hunters are counter hunters.
Yeah, I like having to try to find them, and then like they just go away if you game over. I think that's how I remember it. I didn't like that.
That's how it works. Yeah, if you enter their stage and get in game over in it before you beat them, then they're gone forever, which means you can't save Zero. Although, honestly, I feel like that point is a little overblown because at the most, if you don't find all the X Hunters, you only get 1 extra boss against Zero before you fight Sigma, which, I mean, he also isn't very hard. You can just spam with Speed Burner and he'll die pretty quickly. But I understand the whole concept of, if you want 100% the game, you better take a specific route and not game over or else you're screwed. I get that point, but I do also think that everything else about the game vastly outshines that one, in my opinion, fairly minor negative point.
Yeah. But for the Zero series, if I had to pick one game that I really like the most from that one, 03.
Yeah.
03. Not only to me, not only the best Mega Man Zero game, but also one of the best games on the Game Boy Advance overall.
Yeah. It is absurd how powerful you can get in that game. Even without going into cyberspace, the EX skills you get are busted. Yeah. And they allow you to rip the game a new one, even if some of the bosses can get pretty tough. 04 is also really good, and I think that it would surpass 03 if it wasn't for the elf system. I'm not a huge fan of how they redesigned it. I mean, that's not a huge problem for more expert players since they don't use the elves in the first place, but for newer players, that becomes kind of a problem. And there's also a few levels in 04 that aren't as entertaining, although 03 had the Sunken Library, which, bad level.
And I will say, though, for 04, it's actually my second favorite in the series. Like if I had to rank the Zero games, is 3, 4, 2, and then 1. Like 1 is definitely like the weakest one, no matter what.
I would actually argue 2 is a little bit worse, mostly because, fun fact about 2, that game was made in 3 months. They only had 3 months to make that game from start to finish.
Right, but but that's not the first time. It's not the first time a Mega Man game was made in that short time. Like Mega Man 7 was like made in 3 months.
And Mega Man 3 was made in like 6 months. So yeah, this is definitely not a new concept, which sucks because those games didn't get to expand on some of their concepts as a result.
Now, as far as everything else goes, I still need to play ZX Advent, which this year I'll actually get that done on stream. Awesome. That's the only Mega Man Zero/ZX game that I got to do. And once I'm done with that, then I'm done with the collection for good.
Right.
And then I will move on to the next series that I'm going to do, which will be Legends.
I think you'll like ZX Advent. So similar to 02, it suffered not as much of a time crunch, but still enough that they didn't get to fully implement some of their ideas. One really interesting thing that they did with ZX Advent is you can play as the bosses, because you play, I don't want to spoil too much of the game, but the Pseudoroid bosses in that game are playable, and some of them are not very good. Rose Spark is almost completely useless. Bifrost you don't get until like the last hour of the game, and then you have the the 4 Mega Men that you get throughout the game to transform into are very good. Eolus especially is completely busted.
Yeah, and I'm gonna highlight something that's relevant to this. So Professor Icepick says that you need to beat the game in hard mode to get the true ending, which I'll do that on stream once I get to the CX Advent.
Good luck with expert mode because it removes all of your all the life ups in the stages, and there's only one sub tank, which is the side quest in Floating Ruins, which is also the longest side quest in the game. Go figure.
Yeah, I'll probably just do one story because after ZX Advent, I really do want to get to the Legends series. I want to start with Legends 1.
That's fair. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which story you choose. Wait, actually, who did you play as in ZX?
What was the girl's name? Was it Ale?
Ale. Okay, in that case, play as Gray, because the story continues off of the opposite gendered character. So if you play as Vent, you'll go to Ash, and if you play as Ale, you go to Gray. Okay. And there's a reason why that I won't spoil.
All right. I'll go with Gray. Now,
but it is worth playing both stories, at least in my opinion, because they do some different things.
Yeah. So for the Legend series, the only one I've actually played was the first one, but I've never beaten it because I did not beat Mega Man Juno. I have the N64 version of the game, which I still have the cartridge for. And if I have to think about like any prize, like personal prized possessions, Mega Man 64 is definitely that one for me. But when I will play Mega Man Legends, it's going to be the PS1 version. That's the one I'm going to because it's common knowledge. A lot of people say that Caitlin, I will play the PS1 version. And
it's better optimized, and also the control scheme in 64 is a little weird.
Yeah, but the 64 version at least lets you use the analog stick.
Right.
Yeah. No, I was able to use analog stick on 64.
I do want to address
but it's not. But it's not like perfect though. But
I do want to address something that Caitlin said. To be fair, and I'm not a huge fan of locking endings behind hard modes. Gunvolt Chronicles Luminous Avenger X2, I'm looking at you. But it's not actually... So it was clearly supposed to lead into a third ZX game, which obviously never happened. We know this now because ZXC was confirmed to be in development. But honestly, if you want to, I would just say look it up at that point because it's literally like maybe a 1-minute cutscene that gives you one final plot twist. If you want to play expert mode, by all means, go for it. I would argue the game is more fun on expert mode, but it's not super necessary. There's not even any achievements tied to it. So I would say if you struggle enough with expert mode and you're not really feeling it, just look up the cutscene. It's not that huge of a deal.
Yeah. All right. So now, before I go to the next topic, I'm gonna take a look at the chat just to highlight a few things. And one of the first things that I actually wanted to highlight was that, for example, let's see which one. All right, okay. Um, so for this one over here, so Professor Icepick says that like, well, let me. Oh wait, hold up. There we go. Um, I argue that Battle Network One's real problem is that the GB is a GB launch title and entirely original subgenre. Yeah, because it was like a launch title that came out like in Japan, like day and date for when the Game Boy Advance came out.
21st.
Like over here, we had to wait till like a couple months after. But yeah, because I remember it came out, and I think they were working on it for. I don't know how long they were working on it for, but it seemed like they were working on it for a little while. But
I remember this because it was in. I have the Battle Network official complete works over there. It's on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was like 2 years or something like that. It definitely got one of the. It definitely went through a lot of iterations just because of the fact that it was originally a horror game. They were originally going to have multiple versions of it, which I guess later happened anyway with 3 and onwards.
Yeah.
And they had to cut quite a lot of concepts. It was originally going to tie into the anime, NT Warrior, but that never happened. So it's sort of because of the amount of iterations it went through compared to the other games, that's partially why it sort of turned out the way it did. I don't even think the game is terrible. I just think it's the worst of the 6. I know people complain about Battle Network 4's RNG story mode, but honestly, it's not too terrible because most of the time you can sort of make do with what you have, and you're never completely screwed, even if you don't get the right Navi.
Yeah.
And Caitlin, NT Warriors, the anime, it is a completely separate continuity that takes elements from each of the games.
Yeah. But like honestly, they never even finished the anime outside of Japan. They only did like 2 or 3 seasons, and then they just stopped here because I guess ratings.
They did 2 seasons, the original and Beast. In Japan, it had 5 seasons, so it went to Stream, Beast, and then Beast Plus.
Yeah.
Which never happened, mostly because, as you said, ratings, also a few other reasons. Again, we watched the entire Mega Man NT Warrior series on the R Mega Man server as part of a movie night. And there's definitely a few episodes that would not have flown here. And some of those were pretty story heavy. So it's a little understandable why they never dubbed it. And also, as Icepick says, yeah, the plot of some of the anime episodes were pretty dumb, especially in Beast Plus. I'm not sure how I feel about the alternate universe plot point.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to bring up is Cornflakes asks, like, we could just talk about this real quick. Favorite music track in the Mega Man series? Let's see. There's way too many, but I'm just gonna list a few. Like for example, I actually enjoy Cutman's theme from Mega Man 1. I like I know like Dr. Wily's theme gets talked about so much, but I actually like Airman's theme from 2 as well as Bubble Man. There's just for 3 I actually really liked Gemini Man. Snake Man's theme is just so good. Small track, but I love the intro jingle to Mega Man X4 where you choose a Maverick. Yeah, same here. Of course, Armored Armadillo's theme is good. Storm Eagle.
Oh, of course, yeah. The airport.
Yeah. Tell me which ones you also like, OneOneTwo, real quick.
So, my favorite video game song ever of in any game is Where the Robots from Mega Man 9, which is the second Wily stage. That song is chip tune perfection.
Yes, that's a good one.
What's his name? Yoshimoto just completely nailed how a Wily stage song should sound. I mean, the entire Mega Man 9 soundtrack is bliss, but that song especially is incredible. In terms of, I guess, to list some other songs from each of the other series, my favorite Mega Man X song is Flame Mammoth's Factory from X1. Again, just the composers went so damn hard on that song. It's awesome. The Zero series, I would honestly, a lot of people don't talk about the first game soundtrack. Crash, the boss theme from Mega Man 01, rocks. There's a reason they remixed it in every successive game.
Yeah.
And of course, Falling Down, the final boss theme from 04, absolutely. I was getting to that. ZX, Trap Phantasm, or Trap Factory, which is Prometheus and Pandora's theme, later got remixed into Trap Phantasm in ZX Advent, is really good. Yeah. Legends, I would argue Flutter versus Shellshock from Legends 1 is probably the most iconic theme and also just incredible. And I'll don't worry, I'll only go 2 more. I was going to list 1 per series. People should honestly listen to Rockman EXE 4.5 soundtrack. That's a fairly obscure game, but they remixed a lot of the Robot Master themes from the classic series, and they're really good. Metal Man's theme, especially, is awesome. And finally, to list one from Star Force, Star Force 2's boss battle theme, Wave Battle, is masterpiece. And that was also composed by Marika Suzuki, who composed 11.
Yep. And also, real quick, from Mega Man Zero 1, there's one track I really liked a lot, and I'll tell you which one. When you go inside Neo Arcadia's shrine, that one I actually liked a lot.
Oh, yeah. So unfortunately, I have a hard time remembering a lot of the song names from Mega Man Zero, just because all the songs have different names. It's not just something stage, so it's a little bit harder to remember.
Yeah,
I think that song is literally called Neo Arcadia, though, unless you're talking about Enemy Hall.
Yeah, it might be the Enemy Hall. Like if all right, let's see. So looking at the chat, like other people are talking about like different themes. In general,
the main gate theme from Legends and theme of the Bonds is really good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna highlight one more message from the chat before we go into the next thing to talk about. Is let me just go right here. Where was it? I just want to make sure like I find it. All right, there we go. All right, Icepick asks. Here's a really important question. What do you think are what do we both think are the most underrated games in the series? Like, in regards to underrated of the ones I played, well, Mega Man 5 is easily one up there as one of the most underrated. Where you have like this so-called Proto Man that you have to fight at some point in the game. And it turns out it's actually not Proto Man, it was actually a fake. The real Proto Man was out there somewhere.
Oh, NES. Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about the Game Boy game, but yeah, the NES game is also really good. With because Darkman 4 tricks you into thinking he's Proto Man when he's not. Mega Man 5 Game Boy is really good too, with the Star Droids having all their own themes. The level design in that game is fantastic, and that's another example of a really underrated song. Sunstar's Battle in Mega Man 5 Game Boy is one of the best songs on that console. It is insane what they managed to do with it. I would argue, in my opinion, the most underrated Mega Man game is Star Force 1, frankly, because I understand the game is a lot easier than Star Force 2 and 3, and there's perhaps a little too many methods in which you can just break the game in half without putting forth too much effort, but the story in that game is incredible. The way that Geo grows from the beginning of the game to the end and sort of the lessons he learns is something that very few games tend to tackle, because honestly, Star Force 1 is about a kid with depression, to be quite frank. And the way that he grows from that and learns from his friends is just a theme that very few other games touch on. And it's brought up in Star Force 2 and 3, of course. And I would argue, despite Star Force 3 being more mechanically sound, the first Star Force game honestly gets way too much undeserved hate from the fan base. It has its problems. Like I said, the game's a little too easy, but it's still a fantastic game. It's very much worth playing.
Yeah. I still have to do all 5 of the Game Boy games. I know people do not like Mega Man 2 Game Boy. I've heard that was actually because I'll say this right now. I went from Mega Man 3 to Mega Man X4 to Mega Man 2 Game Boy. And yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree. Mega Man 2 Game Boy is not good. I will agree with you. I will agree with everyone on that. But I do want to eventually get through them. Like, the only Game Boy game that I've ever beaten was Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. I will eventually get through.
That game also sucks.
Kind of, yeah. Like, it's better than 2, but it's not that much better. Well, but honestly, I will say though that Mega Man 1 through 5 on Game Boy, I will stream them all at some point. Same thing with both Extreme 1, Extreme 2. I've heard that the Mega Man 3 DOS was alright, but Mega Man 1 DOS I heard was terrible.
It's one of the worst games ever. It's barely even a game because of how poorly programmed it is. But I mean, especially because it was worked on by one person, and sort of was the first fan game to an extent because it was really just a guy named Steven Rosner who was working on it in his free time because he thought it was fun.
And it was
And
licensed by Capcom.
yeah, and and eventually got picked up by Capcom. But as Professor Icepick says, they are really just fan games to an extent.
They
sort
both
of what
are,
happened
yeah.
with Street Fighter Cross Mega Man. So
yeah, his brother helped on the second and third.
Right.
You know what? Yeah.
And later he ported Mega Man X to DOS, and it works really well, surprisingly. It's not perfect. There's no ride armors in the game, I guess because they couldn't program it. But it works a lot better than you think it does, and it is honestly worth checking out just to see all the unique aspects of it.
Yeah. All right, so now we'll move on to the next main topic, which will be how have you played the games and in which order? Like I already kind of explained myself that at least to all you guys that I said that I went from Mega Man 3 to Mega Man X4 to Mega Man 2 Game Boy. Where I went next, I'll let you guys know in a little bit. But first, let's talk about you first, OneOneTwo. Because you already said that you started with the anniversary collection. But after that, what was next?
So this might take a minute, forewarning, because I have actually played all the Mega Man games. I've played every game in the series that is available in North America, and the only games I haven't played are the ones that are literally unplayable. Like, I haven't played Rockman Crossover, because that's a shut-down mobile game, and I haven't played the Pachinko machines, like Rockman Ability. But other than that, I've played all the games. So I went from Anniversary Collection. The next game I picked up was 9 on the Wii Shop channel, which became one of my favorite games of all time. And not to brag too much, but I did beat the game without taking a hit because I got Mr. Perfect, which
nice.
Cool, that was hard, but it was totally worth it. Mega Man 10 afterwards, same deal on the Wii Shop channel. I picked that up, and I had a great time with getting all the achievements in 9 and 10, getting Mr. Perfect again. I actually didn't really get into the X series until a little bit later. I want to say I played it through the X collection on GameCube, but it might have been X Legacy Collection. I honestly don't remember. Yeah. Actually, no, it was definitely X Collection because I played that first, and then that's how I played X 7 and 8 because I played X 1 through 6 first on the X Collection, then the Zero games through the Zero Collection on the DS. It was pretty easy to find, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Then ZX and Advent on the DS again, and then I think after that I had to play. By that point, 11 came out, so I played that next. Then I sort of went to all the other games. You know, I blazed through the Game Boy games, Extreme 1 and 2, Soccer, whatever, DOS. Like, that's where I sort of started playing the other classic series games. Extreme 1 and 2. I had to emulate Legends, unfortunately, because it's not really easily available. Same with Star Force. I wasn't going to be able to find the DS cartridges, but I sort of went, while I was playing all these spin-off games in the classic series and the X series, like the Game Boy games, the Extreme games, I sort of played Legends and Battle Network around the same time, and then the last series I played was Star Force. Yeah. I think the final game for me was Operate Shooting Star, which was the remake of Battle Network 1. Sorry, like I said, I played all the games, so it's been... Oh, and I guess Dive, since that came out. But yeah, that's sort of my journey through the series.
All right. So my journey through the series, I went from Mega Man 3 on NES to Mega Man X4 on Sega Saturn to Mega Man 2 on Game Boy. Then after that was Mega Man Legends 1, but it was the N64 version, Mega Man 64. After that, I believe it was Mega Man and Bass on the Game Boy Advance, which I also still have the cartridge for that game. After that,
the GBA version.
Yeah. After that, I went to Mega Man Anniversary Collection because that's where I honestly got back into the series. Because I was kind of off and on, but that was where I actually got back into it. I mainly beaten Mega Man 1, 2 on there, and 3. I didn't really I was trying to get into 4, and I just couldn't get into it at the time. I beat that game later, but I didn't get into 4 at the time. And 5, I didn't really play at that. I didn't really play it on there. I beat the game on the Wii's Virtual Console. And and Mega Man 6, same thing. Well, 6 was not on the Wii's Virtual Console, but I
I
did.
was gonna say, yeah, that never released on the Wii
I
Virtual
beat it elsewhere. Like
Right.
I think I might have beat it on either Wii U or it might have been on like something else. It might have. I don't remember where I beat it at, but I know I beat it somewhere. So
Could have been 3DS, released on that Virtual Console too.
Mega Man, like Mega Man 7. The first time I've ever beaten that game was when I streamed it years ago. I've actually never beaten the game before. Like I thought I did, but it was actually the first time. Mega Man 8, same thing. And those two I've beaten on the Legacy collections.
Right.
But I will say for Mega Man, for the Mega Man X series, I will say though that I didn't beat it. Like the X4 was the first one I've beaten, but I beat X1 was the second one that I've ever beaten, to be honest. And I played it once because I tried playing the PSP game, but it was borrowed and I had to give it back. And and I played the demo of Powered Up. Never actually played Powered Up as a whole. I got to go and do that at some point.
You should. That game is really good. It sort of reinvents one from the ground up, and the ability to play as the Robot Masters, especially, is very cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I have never finished a Mega Man game. Love them, but just never finished any. This is making me want to play them. I'm on the Xbox Game Pass. Where should I start? There are a lot to pick. Start with the first Legacy collection.
Yeah.
Like Mega Man 1, 2, and 3, I would say start with those games. And then when you work your way up.
So I do have some bad news, system manipulation. None of the Mega Man games are on Game Pass anymore. Legacy Collection 1 and 2 were on Game Pass at one point, but they got delisted, sadly. So that's not really going to help you there. Yeah. I would say either Legacy Collection 1 or 11. I talked about this earlier, but Mega Man 11 is really friendly to newcomers due to its 4 difficulty options. And don't worry, you can play the whole game on newcomer. The game will not punish you for it. And I would recommend doing that if you struggle with platformers, or if you want to give yourself a challenge, play on superhero mode.
Yeah.
And yes, don't worry, you can still play the games on Xbox. They're just not on Game Pass. So you're not going to get them through that subscription, sadly.
Now, but when it comes to the X games, I don't know. I was like after I beat X for the first time, I think a year later it came out on Virtual Console, and then I ended up beating it again, and I got to the point where I ended up loving it so much that I just kept going back to it. Okay, just went to the store. Yeah, gonna have to buy them. Yeah. But
there's real quick. If you want to get all the games at once, there's a 30th anniversary bundle that I believe costs around $60, if I remember correctly. It has collections 1, 2, X collections 1 and 2, and 11, which means the only one you'd have after that is 0.
Yeah. But yeah, so I ended up enjoying X1. I enjoyed X2. Like I said, not as much as X1 and X4, but X2 was pretty good. X3, I will say I do actually like the Super Nintendo version more than the PS1 version. What's the difference?
Agreed, yeah.
So what's the difference? Well, the PS1 version, in terms of visuals and everything, exactly the same as Super Nintendo. But it has different music, which some of it's better, some of it's worse. And
there's also anime cutscenes before you start each boss.
Yeah.
And they misspelled Blizzard Buffalo's name as Bilzard Buffalo, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, they did. Was not really the biggest fan of X3, honestly. And the first time I've ever beaten it was on stream. And to be honest, like the ringtone?
Sorry, that was my phone alarm, actually. Oops.
Yeah, it's fine. To be quite honest with you, like X3 just felt like there was just something off about it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the game, to be honest, and I honestly did not like the ending sequence where you had to escape. Shoutouts to that.
Because after you beat Kaiser Sigma, who also is a very hard fight because his hitbox is so small.
Yeah.
And he's only weak to the Buster. Good luck with that.
Shoutouts to the Mega Man X3. Shoutouts to the Mega Man X3 for PC review on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It not only tore the game apart for dumb reasons, it also said there was a fire stage, which is not true. There's no Fire Maverick in X3. That's X2 or 4. I assume they were confusing it with Flame Stag's level in X2.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know
might
what
have.
happened there.
They probably might have, but it was a mistake. But yeah, um, it's like I said, I tried getting into Mega Man Battle Network. Oh, you bought Mega Man Legacy Collection, nice.
Hey, enjoy the games.
Yeah, I tried getting into Mega Man Battle Network, but Mega Man Battle Network 1, it was a bit of a drag. I'll get to it. I'll stream them eventually, but I'll be more motivated to streaming them when like a collection comes out.
Collection, yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to wait for that.
I would say don't feel bad if you need to skip to 2 to start out there, because 2 has a lot more mechanics that are friendly to the player and aren't as annoying with their dungeon design. Freeze Man's still a pain in the butt, but that's really the only part of the game that sort of drags too much.
Yeah, but yeah, glad to hear that you got your friend Mega Man 11, Dolius.
Yeah, that's great.
Operation Shooting Star is worse.
Shooting Star has some interesting changes. They did make Electman's dungeon better because they added lights to the floor, which makes it easier. But there's some other things like that extra scenario with Star Force, which maybe not the best.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to start highlight before we move on to the main topic that we're going to talk about. I'm going to highlight some stuff. For example, let's see. So let me take a look at this one right here. So Mr. Ben brings up something. I know I've played Mega Man 64 version first, but then I picked up the original Legends and Legends 2. And then he would go on to say, hold up. That was actually it. Yeah, Mega Man Legends 2 I'd never actually played. I will play it when a collection comes out. But then again, at the same time, I'm gonna be playing Mega Man Legends 1 in a different way, which
right, the PS1 version.
Yeah, the PS1 version. I'm not doing the N64 one.
Are you gonna play Misadventures of Tronbon as well?
Yes, I will play Misadventures after Legends 1, but before Legends 2.
Yeah, good choice, because that's it's supposed to lead. It's a lot of elements from Tronbon get picked up in 2. Legends 2 is a good game. I think you'll enjoy it. The controls are a lot better in Legends 2 because they refined them from Legends 1. Fun fact, Legends 1 had Z targeting before Ocarina of Time did, and it's very janky, so they sort of refined that in the later games. But I don't know, some of Legends 2's dungeons are really annoying. Nito Island in general is just a slog. I hate that level to death.
Yeah.
And the desert level at Sal Kada, it leaves a little bit to be desired at times.
Yeah, and Caitlin, I do have it. I don't know if I gave it to my brother. I have to check it out. But when it comes to PS3, the thing is that capturing PS3 is a pain in the ass compared to 360. So I'll figure it out. Because I know you can get the Legends games on there. I'll figure it out. I'll see what I can do. If they did Legends 1 with 2's controls, it would be the best game in that series.
Yeah, it would.
It sure would, yes. Another comment that I actually wanted to pop up. Let's see. So the other thing I wanted to pop up was yeah, I'll just pop this one up, even though we just brought it up. But yeah, I would actually like to know exactly how Mega Man Legends 1 would play with Mega Man Legends 2's controls. If someone were to ever somehow mod make a version of Mega Man Legends 1, mod it to have Legends 2's control scheme and find a way to build the game around that, it would definitely make the game even better.
They would probably have to change some things about the game because a lot of Legends 1's enemies are built around the strafing controls of Legends 1, and that's probably why some people struggle with the games, because you have to keep in mind Legends 1 was made before the DualShock existed. There were no analog sticks on the controller, so they built the game around that. Yeah. And when you introduce that sort of more free-flowing movement, you're going to have to change a lot of the enemies because otherwise they'll die extremely quickly without really much effort. And as Professor Icepick says, considering the Misadventures of Tronbon source code was found in the data breach, yeah, it's pretty likely Legends is going to come back, because why else would that be in there?
It's at this point, it's more of a matter of when and not if.
Right. I do also want to bring up Nino Ruins and Legends 2, since a lot of people in chat are brought it up. The reason why that dungeon sucks, to put it succinctly, is your run speed is decreased by a factor of like 4 or 5. It's insane. You're super slow in that dungeon. Your jumps take forever, and the boss is annoying. Yeah. It was to the point where the PlayStation Portable version actually sped up how fast Volnut gets because so many people complain. Similar to Ocarina of Time, it seems that water dungeons seem to be a problem.
Yeah. But we'll see exactly how it goes, whether if we get Battle Network first or we get Legends first. Either way, I will be picking both of them up when they come out. And also, Nino messed with the camera.
Yeah, the camera controls are annoying because it gets caught on the level geometry a lot, which is weird because the camera isn't that terrible in the Legends series, but for some reason, Nino and especially Yasyonke, the ice areas, seem to have some weird jank with the camera.
Yeah. I'm going to highlight one more comment, and then we're going to move on to the main topic. So, Dolius brings up, confession. The desert made me so mad that I ended up downloading a save file with easy mode unlocked and played through as fast as possible just to get back to the desert so I could have the enjoyable time. Wow.
Yeah, Salkada is a bit of a difficulty spike, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting to the Legend series when I will get into them.
Yeah, don't worry. I know we're talking a lot of negative aspects of Legends 2, but it does do a lot of cool things. Like the ethics system actually matters in Legends 2 because you can visit the black market if you're evil, and if you're nice, then the cost of all the shops decrease. So there's a lot more incentive to either be a jerk or be a saint, which is really cool.
Yep.
And the bosses in that game are awesome. Legends 2's big, towering boss battles are fantastic.
All right. And now we're going to go on to the main topic at hand that we're going to spend a lot more time talking about, which will be the future of Mega Man. Where exactly do the both of us think that the series is going to go from here now that Mega Man 11 came out like a couple of years ago and Mega Man Dive... Mega Man X Dive just came out recently on Steam. It's been on mobile for a while. It's literally just Tyson dudes, but this is more of a matter of a prediction of where we think we're gonna go, rather than just
after match. Yeah,
most likely after that. Yeah, because
as Icepick indicates, there was a data breach at Capcom a little while back. We were talking about it with the Misadventures of Tron source code. But the big thing for Mega Man fans in that was there was a title known as Rockman Tyson that was in there that is going to release in Q3 of 2022. They also brought up how it had the biggest budget in the series' history, more so than any other game in the series. I don't want to say combined, but it was definitely a lot. And especially considering that there was planned to be an expansion of the game in 2023, and the fact that the budget is close to like Monster Hunter Stories 2 level, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from there, especially because the title of the game, Mega Man Match, sort of indicates that it's probably going to be more of a multiplayer-focused experience. And even though the breach only said Tyson, which I understand a lot of people are hesitant about, it is also... interesting to note that the NVIDIA breach that happened a while back as well actually confirmed the English title as Match, and it even gave a release date, surprisingly. The tentative release date was November 1st. Now, whether that's going to be the case, I don't know. Maybe that was a placeholder, especially considering Resident Evil 4 Remake was also listed for that date, and the chance of them releasing those two games in the same day is like almost zero.
It's probably just a placeholder at most.
It probably is, but I wouldn't be surprised if November is sort of the estimated time frame that comes out. It is also important to keep in mind that another game in that breach, Exoprimal, which was known as Shield in the breach, got delayed to 2023. So there is a chance that Match could be going through some development problems related to the pandemic, but it's sort of up in the air.
Yeah. And to be quite honest, I honestly just want to see exactly what Match is actually going to be like. I'm willing to just give it the benefit of the doubt before I say anything, because I really don't know what it is other than just the fact that it exists, but I just don't know what it is, so I can't really say anything yet. Then again, like we would not have known about this if that data breach did not happen in the first place. Like we wouldn't know like a lot of the things, like because that's how we found out about like the PC version of Monster Hunter Rise, for example, was even a thing. So we'll see how it goes.
Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection was in that breach too, as was
Yeah.
Capcom Arcade Stadium and
And the Great Ace
a couple other
Attorney
things like Street Fighter Six.
and Street Fighter 6, yeah. Frankly, I wish that Capcom had just hired Inti Creates to make Mega Man ZX3, but I guess that.
Ooh, I touched on this earlier, but so ZXC would have been the third ZX game. It was actually in development pretty much directly after ZX Advent, so it was going to be released in 2008. Some things went wrong. If I remember correctly, what ended up happening is Capcom told Inti Creates to work on Mega Man 9 instead, which is why we got that in 2008. But according to a live stream that Inti Creates hosted a little while back, they said that they had the character movement done at the very least, and they might have put some elements from ZX3 or ZXC, sorry, into 9. I mean, Splash Woman and Tornado Man do kind of resemble Leviathan and Harpuya, so who knows?
Well, I wonder exactly how like a ZX3 can work in this day and age, even if they did not get Inti Creates. Like even if like Capcom internally did it.
I don't know. I don't think it would really work very well just because Inti Creates sort of has that special level design philosophy that none of the other companies out there have. That's partially why Inti Creates went on to make Gunvolt and Blaster Master Zero, Dragon Ball for Death, Bloodstain, Curse of the Moon,
Yeah.
etc. So I think that making a ZXC, if that is what they would go back to, without Inti Creates is a very bad idea. But the chances of Capcom working with Inti Creates at this point, considering A, they are now rivals, B, Capcom really does not like Inti Creates, evidenced by the fact that they removed their logo from both Legacy Collection 2 and Zero ZX Legacy Collection, and C, Inafune doesn't work at Capcom anymore. That was the only reason why Inti Creates worked with Capcom in the first place, was because Inafune brought up to the higher-ups that, hey, Inti Creates is full of former Capcom members. They'd be really good at making a Mega Man game, and that's how Mega Man Zero got made. So
Yeah, but
that's probably not going to happen.
it's unfortunate that that's the
Truly.
case. I don't get me wrong, because like I would love for Inti Creates to come back and work on the next ZX game as well as any other projects that they could do, because I know that they would do it justice. But
For sure.
I don't know like if Capcom internally will do it, or if like they'll find another studio that will actually take up the mantle to do a ZX3. I don't know exactly how ZX3 will work in this day and age, because it's just something that like I'm a bit concerned about. And Capcom and Platinum teaming up, yeah, I've been hearing rumblings about that
Yeah, with
myself.
Okami. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, Okami.
I mean,
but
to be fair,
and-
Astral Chain has a lot of similarities to ZX, but... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, there was someone who worked for Platinum that went back to Capcom, and he's now working on Street Fighter 6.
Right. I remember that, because he's one of the... Is he the director or the producer? I forget.
I don't remember, but I know that he definitely has a high position so far for that.
I know Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, who's the head of the Mega Man brand now, is also the head of the Street Fighter brands. Is he working on Street Fighter 6 as well?
Right. That's true.
After Ono left, yeah.
Yeah. And like the other thing is that I'm more concerned about like how like a ZX game would be like than like any other game in any other series at this point. Like Mega Man 11, I feel like is a good foundation for where they can go with the classic series.
Yes,
I like to see exactly what Mega Man 12 would have to offer. For Mega Man X, in regards to where I think it can go, I'm thinking they could just take the engine from Mega Man 11 and build around that to make it more Mega Man X based. And then like start working on a Mega Man X9 with that engine, playing like the classic games. Well, not classic games as in Mega Man Classic series, but rather like classic X games.
The earlier X games, you're saying.
Like make it more like X1 to X4.
Right. Then, yeah, because a lot of people do not like 6 and 7, as is obvious.
Those two, yeah. Like those two people did not like. X5 was kind of meh, in my opinion, and X8 was decent. But again, stick to 1 to 4.
In in terms of the next games after Match, which as we know is 2022, and then there's going to be a huge DLC expansion in 2023, unless that got delayed, which is possible. It's difficult because a lot of the Mega Man subseries have either ended or are just not coming back. Like Zero ended. We're never getting another Zero game because ZX is 05 and 06. ZX and ZX Advent. ZXC, I think it's not going to happen just because Inti Craze is on their own separate path now. I mean, Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 is going to come out pretty soon. So, and they have their own series that they're dealing with, like Blaster Master Zero. So,
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
There's been speculation that Capcom might make Battle Network 7.
I've seen that with Battle Network 7. I don't think that's going to happen purely for the reason that Battle Network 6 ended so definitively and culminated the series for Star Force to pick up on. And similar to Zero, I don't think they would then go back and then continue because they would have learned from that mistake with X6 and X7 continuing from X5. So I don't think Battle Network 7 is going to happen. And Star Force 4, that got canceled as well. The chances of that happening are similarly pretty slim just because none of the Star Force games sold well.
Yeah.
I do think it is possible, absolutely, that we could get a Star Force 4. And I think it would work phenomenally because even though Star Force 3's ending was definitive, it was less definitive than Battle Network 6. For Battle Network 7, they would literally have to pick up with Patch Land's Kid. And that would be its whole other issue with tying into making sure Star Force works.
Yeah.
But you talked about Mega Man 12, and that's certainly a possibility. They're certainly going to keep the double gear system because that was one of the things everyone loved about Mega Man 11.
Yeah.
Just because of how it changed the dynamics of how Mega Man works. So
yeah, like Mega Man 12 to me, I feel like they should start taking a little bit more risk on what they can do with the classic series to evolve it while still keeping true to having like the gameplay style from the older Mega Man games. Because I really did like what they did with 11, and I really want to see what else they're gonna do with 12 and so on and so forth. And
yeah, Caitlin says Legends 3 is not happening. So here's where I disagree. I actually think that it is very possible that Legends 3 could happen because Kazuhiro Tsuchiya, after Mega Man 11 released, actually surveyed the Mega Man community and sort of picked up on what the vibe of it was. He also did this before Mega Man 11 launched. That's how he determined that 11 was the best way to bring the series back because there was the most interest in another classic series game.
Yeah.
So Legends has sort of accumulated this bit of a cult status at this point on the internet. Even though it didn't sell very well when it originally came out on the PlayStation 1, it's gotten a lot more attention over the previous few years. And especially if that Legends collection is real from the misadventures of Tron Bonne's source code and the data breach, I could very easily see a situation where Legends collection releases, they realize that, oh wait, people actually bought these games now because they're not stuck on the PlayStation, and Legends 3 could happen. It would have to be another Capcom test style thing, like what happened with Darkstalkers, and unfortunately that failed, or like Devil May Cry, I guess, is another example with Devil May Cry 5. It would sort of have to be that sort of situation, but if Legends collection sells well, yeah, I could easily see Legends 3 happening. Now, would it be the same Legends 3 that we had on the 3DS? I don't think Arrow and Barrett are coming back, but who knows? I think that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my take on like what I think that for Mega Man Legends could actually be if Mega Man Legends 3 were to come back. I think that once we get the collection, this is exactly how I see it. I honestly see them doing Legends 1, Legends 2, Legends 3, but that's not the only thing we'll get. We'll actually get the demo of Mega Man Legends 3 that never got a chance to release on the 3DS eShop.
Right, the prototype version.
Because it exists. It actually exists.
It
does. I believe it was at I don't know if it was at E3 or there was like it was actually Capcom Captivate 2011 that there was a playable demo there. And I'm assuming that Capcom still has the source code for that ready to go, that they could just All they got to do is like up-res the game, just put it up on the collection, and then there you go. So that demo of Mega Man Legends 3, and mind you, it was going to cost $3. It was like a special
that
demo.
Was a bad idea.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. They ended up at the last minute, like I think a few days before Nintendo launched the 3DS eShop, that they decided like not to do this. They decided to just, we're not going to do this demo. We did promise that, but we're not going to do it. And this was about like almost a month before they canceled the game. And
pretty much, yeah, they pulled the plug on him.
But where exactly do I think that Mega Man Legends 3 can go from there? Well, they could still do that demo and then just use some of the plot that they actually had, but expand on what they can actually do with the game. Obviously, the main plot is getting Mega Man Volna off the moon.
Off the Elysium, yeah.
Yes.
Wait, slight correction. And this is a common misconception. Mega Man is not on... Volnut's not on the moon. Elysium is not the moon. It's a space station. I know everyone memes about that, but you can actually see the real moon in the background of Legends 2's ending.
Yeah. Just get him off of there and bring him back.
Elysium.
Yeah, bring him back. And he's like, you have Roll, you have Tronbon, and who was that character they were going to introduce? I forgot her name, to be honest.
Arrow was the girl. Are you talking about her?
Yeah.
Arrow, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that if they do release Legends Collection, I would not be surprised if they ported the prototype version. Maybe if they changed it a little bit since, 3DS controls and whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if they released that prototype version, but that's also, as you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they took from that prototype either and have some story beats for another go at Legends 3.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see Arrow and Barrett coming back purely because the fan base wasn't as positive on them when the game was originally being developed in the dev room. It's possible. I mean, Capcom still references them. I mean, they were on a calendar a few years back, but I don't know. That's also probably why I don't think they've released the story beats. Only one person knows how the story was going to go because he was the only one told. It was Chris Scullion, I think was his last name, from Nintendo Everything or something like that.
Yeah, Chris Scullion.
Or maybe it was Nintendo Everything.
Well, I don't know if that's where they're from, but regardless,
it was Nintendo World Report.
Well, all I know for sure is that one person actually got a chance to.
Yeah, he got to try the demo and he got to see the story beats.
They probably tried it at Captivate 2011 because that was the only time they ever had. That was the only time that they actually had it. And I heard almost no one even played it. Like people just ignored it because people were focusing on Street Fighter Cross Tekken and and there was a couple of other games that they were showing off. I believe Resident Evil Revelations on 3DS. And,
I was going to say, 2011 Revelations would sort of line up
and the Mercenaries 3D.
Look at how a lot of those games turned out, especially Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Yikes.
Yeah. But, that's the thing. They only had...
Right. It was only one kiosk for Legends 3 compared to the many that the Resident Evil games had, especially.
And but that was just mainly it. Like, they were mainly pushing those games, and Mega Man Legends 3 just had that corner. Mega Man Universe was already canceled by that time.
Right, but that was when Inafune left.
Yeah. And
And speaking of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, I know people were very upset when bad box art Mega Man was included in that game, and I understand that, especially because we sort of got all the games canceled around that time.
Yeah.
But I think what people misunderstand about that cameo is that it was not really done out of malice. It was supposed to be a joke, and Inafune talked about this. The only problem was that he left before that got to happen. So it's unfortunate that so many people in the fan base sort of took that the wrong way as sort of a ha-ha, all your games got canceled, when in reality it was more, oh, look at this funny thing that works with the art style than anything else.
The real problem with that was bad timing.
It was,
that was the real problem.
To the timing.
Yeah. Like, the fact that you had, like, multiple canceled games, you had Mega Man Legends 3, Mega Man Universe, and also that Mega Man Maverick Hunter reboot that was actually planned, made by the
Yeah, it
people.
was Maverick Hunter from Armature Studios.
Yeah, former Metroid Prime devs.
I'm kind of glad that game got canceled, frankly. That game looked like trash. And especially
Yeah.
the story that got leaked. They said that X was going to turn evil in the third game and you would play as Zero. Did they miss the memo where that's the entire reason why 01 changed its final boss to copy X? Because X turning evil is not a good idea? They literally already went through that. Why would you try that again?
It's like I actually knew. Here's the funny thing: for Maverick Hunter, I actually did not know it existed until it was announced that the game was actually canceled.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knew because that game never really got off the ground, which is weird that they were planning 3 games.
Wasn't it going to be on wasn't it also going to be on the 3DS?
I don't think they revealed any platforms for Maverick Hunter. No.
Yeah.
And that's another good point. Rockman Online from NeoWiz. That game is so strange because it was complete. They actually finished the game pretty much, and it just never happened. That was so weird, and it looked cool too. I don't know why that game never released, frankly.
It's a mystery. And
truly, especially because it was done. I understand the whole Inafune fallout was the reason why we didn't get any Mega Man games till 11 in the Legacy collections, but if you have a finished game, you might as well release it. That doesn't make any sense.
It's like when it comes to Mega Man, like during the 7th gen, like the 7th gen just was not looking good for Mega Man, and even even the first few years of the 8th gen. But like Mega Man, if there's any silver lining that needs to be brought up, is the fact that that even after everything that was going on in the early 2000s with Mega Man did get a chance to have his time to shine thanks to being included in Super Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U.
I truly think that is the reason why Mega Man came back.
Because I remember, like, just that reveal alone. That was an incredible reveal where, like Mega Man being the first, like, third-party character shown off for Smash 4, like, in terms of newcomers, that was actually well made. Like, you see that cliff, and Mega Man was helmetless, his helmet came in, and then he started attacking everybody with different weapons from the series. That was amazing. That's definitely one of my definitely on there as like my top 5, maybe even top 3 reveals with Smash. Mega Man, they did a great job with him. And the fact
that is my favorite reveal, yeah.
And the fact they also brought him back in Ultimate, to me, he plays much better in Ultimate than he does in Smash 4. So yeah.
Yeah, the Leaf Shield was not good in 4 because it had too many startup frames, and then they reduced that in Ultimate. They also gave him just some more powerful moves in general. None of his like actual moves changed necessarily, but they made a lot of them more powerful. The Super Arm especially got a lot better in Ultimate.
Oh yeah,
as did the Hard Knuckle. It was that because that was a little bit janky in 4.
Yeah, and I honestly feel that for future games in the series, Mega Man has a good chance of still being in it, but we're not going to think about Smash right now. Not for another 10 or so years. Let's not right rest on that. But as far as Mega Man appearing in other games, like Marvel vs. Capcom 1 being like the first fighting game that he actually got a chance to be a part of, and he also came back in 2.
Then 0 was in 3, and X was in Infinite and Sigma.
Yeah, and also there was the Mega Man 0 that was in SBC Chaos, which was actually interesting.
He played really cool, too. I mean, that was sort of... SEC Chaos wasn't really the best game, but the way that Zero was implemented in that game and how a lot of his combos string together like an actual Mega Man Zero was really, really cool. And, I mean, he also appeared in Onimusha Blade Warriors along with Mega Man.exe.
Yeah. And as far as other games go...
Volna was in Tatsunoko.
Yeah, Volna was in Tatsunoko. Zero was in Tatsunoko as well as Mega Man. Oh, no, Mega Man. Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Oh, yeah, that too. Tron was in 3.
Yeah.
And 2.
And y'all forgetting about Onimusha Blade Warriors? I
just mentioned it, yeah. Because it was Zero and Mega Man.exe.
Yeah, he just mentioned it, yeah. I never actually played it, but I've seen like how it looks. It looks fun.
It's good.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of, it's basically sort of the Smash Bros game for the Onimusha series. It takes a lot of elements from all three of the prior games, and it's pretty worth playing.
Oh
Pretty well
yeah.
worth playing.
I'll
Um,
I'll have to give it a shot at some point. I was mostly seeing videos of it. Uh,
going,
let's see.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No. You go
I,
ahead.
I was going to say, going back to Smash, I truly feel that Mega Man's appearance in there sort of saved the franchise in a way, because that indicated to Capcom that so many people still cared about the series and sort of led to them shopping out Legacy Collection to Digital Eclipse.
Yes.
And since that game sold 1 million units, making it one of the best-selling Mega Man games ever, Legacy Collection 2 and 11 happened, and the rest is history, essentially.
Remember the Smash Invitational, where
Yeah.
like one of the main moments was like having like Mega Man doing his final smash, like doing the Galaxy Man, like
Right, Mega Legends.
and then the Mega Man, and then all the other characters came in, and then they were like Super Fighting Robot Mega Man,
that was great.
and then after that, like even though he didn't win the match, the fans still chanted Mega Man after the match, and like because they had like these posters with different characters that they could show off to support the character they want to see, and then everyone was showing off Mega Man. They were chanting for it, and I would not be shocked if that was the moment that Capcom saw that and they're like, "Oh shit, they really do want Mega Man."
People do want this. We should try doing a Capcom test with Legacy Collection, and look where that got you. 1 million units, making it the third best-selling game in the series, because 2 is the first, followed by 11. Oh, sorry, fourth, because third is Battle Network 4, then Legacy Collection, and then X, and then 3, and then from there we don't really know.
Yeah, but as far as the future, what the future holds for Mega Man, like after Mega Man Match or Tyson is what it was called for Japan. What I'm thinking is that we're gonna get both the Battle Network and Legends collections, but I just don't know which one we're gonna get first.
I think at this point it's probably Legends. The fact that Misadventures of Tron Bond source code was in the breach is a huge sort of smoking gun to an extent, especially with them re-releasing the Legends soundtrack. That's some very suspicious timing to be releasing that. And I know that they released the Battle Network soundtrack as well, but that was for the anniversary, frankly.
Yeah.
The sound box for the 20th anniversary of the series. The Legends series, it's not really an anniversary, or like a big anniversary. So I'm pretty confident we're going to get Legends next, and then probably Battle Network. And honestly, I do think we will eventually get Star Force, even if that's the last one, just because it's not as well known.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that after one of the collections, like after Match, and after one of the collections, we'll get another game, which most likely will be like, I'm thinking if it's not X9, it's probably going to be Mega Man 12. That's what I'm thinking. One of the two.
I would argue Legends 3 maybe, just because of how much the fans have desired that and the responses to sort of those polls and whatnot.
I feel like Mega Man Legends 3 will be on the RE engine. I feel like that's a game that makes sense for that engine, and but I would not be shocked if we get an announcement soon. Maybe E3. We'll have to wait and see.
If we do not get Match at E3, the game definitely got delayed, because that lines up perfectly with it releasing in November from the NVIDIA leak.
Yeah.
If it's not at E3, that doesn't mean it's canceled, but it does probably mean that due to the pandemic, some things had to get switched around with, as we saw with Exo Primal, that had to get switched around a little bit to make sure that it had the appropriate development time.
Yeah. Let's see. But yeah. Other than that, because I really do think that the pandemic did change a lot of things up. Like, for example, like games that were supposed to come out in 2020 got delayed to 2021, or even later than that, for that matter. So we'll wait to see. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's gonna go.
One really surprising thing is how well X Dive has been doing as a mobile game. It's actually doing quite well. It actually just celebrated its second anniversary as well. that game is probably going to continue for quite a while, especially after 11, them releasing a mobile game to keep the continued interest of the fans, since that's really who it's catering to at the end of the day. X-Dive is really catering to the hardcore community with all of the events and whatnot. It's still approachable to newcomers, of course, but it's very obvious that their target audience in this case was almost certainly the hardcore fans. And I do think that that game is going to continue for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And yes, they are doing a lot of OCs. They just introduced a trio of them, Angie Patoir, what's her name? Dwight Claire and Iradoir, which the fan base has been a little more mixed on than the original OCs from like when the game launched, which was Rico and Via and Eco later. So game's not perfect, but it still plays pretty well.
Yeah. But I'll eventually play more of it. I just mainly tried it out to see how it was, and it's not bad, but I need to spend time with it. It's just I just have so much on my plate as it is right now.
Yeah, I feel you. The game does get a lot harder. You might have seen at the bottom of the screen whenever you select a level that there's sort of a recommended power level. Make sure that you keep up with that, because if you don't, the enemies start killing you in 2 or 3 hits and you do almost no damage. It's certainly possible to get by with a low power level. I got up to level like 15, being like halfway under the power level, but unless you're very skilled and willing to put up with enemies killing you in 2 hits or have a lot of reorganization programs or extra lives, try your best to keep up with that power level, because it gets very tough very quickly.
Yeah. So as far as the future goes, the future goes for Mega Man, I think that we're going to get a lot of good stuff this decade. Aftermatch. Whichever collection we get first, day one purchase, I will pick it up once it comes out. And I'll stream the games. Like if we end up getting the Legends series, I'm gonna wait a little bit to see it. Like if we get the Legends collection first, and if we do, then I'll be doing that on stream like at some point this summer. Otherwise, I'll probably wait a little longer. But I just want to at least give some time for that to come out. But if Battle Network happens to come out, then that I will do soon. But again, we just gotta wait and see what happens with those 2 collections. Either way, I'll get both day one, but it's just a matter of which one's gonna come out first and when.
The thing that I hope a lot of fans understand now that we got Mega Man 11, the Zero ZX Legacy Collection, and X Dive, is that the developers need, and I mean need, to take their time with these games.
Yes.
The reason why the Mega Man series died for 8 years, besides Inafune leaving, was burnout, frankly. There's a really cool chart that another Mega Man administrator, Rhythm, made that showcased all the Mega Man games on a timeline. And there were like 8 or 9 games releasing at a time in 2003 and 2004. Yep. It was nuts. And fans quite literally could not keep up. They were killing the series because they were releasing too many games at once and confusing the general audience. As a result, they really need to take their time with this. And I hope that fans realize that now, especially after Kazuhiro Tsuchiya said that their new sort of strategy is evergreen titles that last for quite a long time, so they can make the games in a less rushed or crunched development, which, as we have seen earlier with games like Mega Man X6, Zero 2, and Battle Network 1 and 4, contributed to a lot of the issues that permeated throughout the Mega Man series.
Exactly.
Now, I know Professor Icepick is saying there should probably be a happy medium between multiple games every year and one game every 8 years. Oh, no, I'm not saying Zero 2 is bad, but it was rushed. It was made in 3 months. Like, that's just an indisputable fact, honestly.
But the thing is that, because I remember 2003, this is what we got. We got Mega Man Zero 2, Mega Man, Mega Man Battle Network 3. We had Mega Man X7 that year. Mega Man and Bass on the Game Boy Advance. I think there was one more thing. I'm trying to remember.
I can bring up the chart again. Hang on.
Yeah, it was like because I thought that there were 5 games that year, because I know it was like
there was more. I'm bringing up the chart real quick since I have it pinned in the Mega Man server. Here it is. So 2003 was Battle Network 2, 3, and 4, and both of their versions. We got Mega Man Zero 2, and we also got I think it was X7 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was X7, Zero 2. Is the X7?
Battle Networks 3. There was Network Transmission. There was.
Oh yeah, network transmission. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there was also. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. There was was it N1 Battle? I think it was called. No, whatever the Wonder Swan game was. EXE Wonder Swan, I think it's called.
Right.
There were just too many games in 2003 and 2004, and I do agree that obviously there shouldn't be one game every 8 years. That's kind of sucky. I mean, that's something all of us understand.
Yeah.
But the other issue is that I just hope that people realize that there's so many games to play. I mean, there's 25 Mega Man games on modern consoles. That is probably more than any other series in general.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single other series with 25 games on modern consoles.
Yeah.
And as a result, there are a lot of games to play, and people should try going back to the previous games they haven't played yet, because the developers need to take their time and they need to make the best game that they can make, despite the fact that, you know, we haven't gotten a game in a while. So I do think that ultimately we will probably have a happy medium. Again, you also have to remember it's a pandemic. Game development in general is having problems.
Yeah.
And if the breach is correct, we were probably going to get one this year. And honestly, 2018 to 2022 is not a terribly long wait compared to what Mega Man or even Ghosts and Goblins went through.
Yeah.
And as Caitlin points out, Zero ZX Legacy Collection was February of 2020. And they actually delayed that game by a month to make sure that it was high quality.
No, that was Ice Pick that actually said that.
Oh, sorry, yeah. All right, sorry. I was just saying Caitlin asked if one came out last year, and 2020.
Okay.
And as Professor Icepick says, yeah.
Yeah. The main thing that I do want to bring up is this. Like, one last thing that I want to bring up in general is this. That no matter how many games we end up getting in the next few years, I agree with the whole taking the time thing. 100%. Taking the time. You got to make sure that the games are going to go really well. They run smoothly. They play very well. It's like, so going into what Icepick said about this whole happy medium thing. The thing is that it's something that needs to be taken into account. How they'll address the happy medium is a whole nother story. I don't know how they address it, but what I can say for sure is this. I'm honestly hoping that it gets to a point where they figure out a certain balance so that there won't be like long gaps, but there also won't be like so many things at some point too. Like, I just want to see exactly where they're gonna go, but I think I practically said enough about that. I think I said everything I wanted to say in regards to the future of Mega Man, because we practically covered every base we can cover.
Pretty much. The pandemic has sort of threw everything off just in general, and I think that after match things will go a lot faster with that. We'll probably get a game every few years. Wouldn't be surprised if it's every like three instead of every 5. I just, especially with the budget of this game being a lot bigger than normal compared to most of the other games.
Yeah.
I just think that they need to sort of take the time that they need, especially with the pandemic, and this just being a very different game, if it turns out to be what I think it is, which is a multiplayer fighting game or some sort of other multiplayer experience type of game, which they seem to be leaning into anyway with Exo Primal especially.
Yeah. Well, for now, the one thing I'll say is we'll just see what happens, and then we'll go from there afterwards.
The brand is in a healthy state. That is the huge thing to keep in mind. Mega Man is doing better now than it ever has in its history. We are not going back to the Dark Ages. That's just not going to happen because of how well 11 sold, how well X-Dive is doing right now, and Match coming up. Yeah. Even if Match isn't the best, and even if it sort of has some falters, the brand has sort of built itself up back to the point where it can have one or two stumbling blocks and still be okay. Yeah. Tsuchiya has been championing this series pretty much consistently since he took over, and the brand is fine. I'm honestly kind of sick of the doom and gloom with the series just because of like, oh, we haven't gotten a game in a few years, which I get it, and I understand that it's annoying that we had to wait this long. Yeah. But the brand is healthy. It's healthier. It's selling better than ever before, and we are in a good spot with it in general.
Yeah, and when it comes to how well that they usually sell, I usually like notice that they tend to sell better on Nintendo platforms more than anything else. Although there is a healthy amount of people on PC, especially on Steam, that's been growing, which is nice to see. But
Yeah,
but I think
the games sell best on the Switch. There was a really cool article from Brian over at Proto Dude. He had a guest on. I'm sorry, I cannot remember the game. Sorry, the game. The person who wrote it, but he sort of analyzed the sales of all the games, and he actually showed that, first of all, as you said, the Nintendo Switch versions of all the games sold better in general, just based on the numbers that we have. But they also showed that, look, even though Zero ZX Legacy Collection didn't hit 1 million units, it sold better than every other game in the series combined. That's impressive,
insane. That
especially
really is.
coming from Zero and ZX, a series that just historically hasn't sold very well.
And now it gives more people a chance to play those games.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And I especially with Dive sort of taking that sort of next step of making sure that the fans are more consistently engaged, I do think that, and honestly, Caitlin has a good point with, I think Sonic should take a similar approach to Mega Man with releasing less games and making sure each of them are better, because that's how we got Forces, unfortunately.
Sadly,
so, every 5 years is a little too infrequent, but the idea of taking longer to make better games is something the Mega Man franchise has learned from its death in 2010, and hopefully it will continue to make higher quality games by taking longer.
Yeah.
Maybe the sales estimate for Match is a little too high. We don't know what it is. Maybe it is a platform fighting game like Smash Bros. I can see that being the case.
Yeah.
But I do think that just in general, fans will probably appreciate the longer development time in the long run.
Yeah.
Also, Professor Icepick, Inti Crates has cranked out a lot of bangers, but if you noticed, Gunvolt Chronicles Luminous Avenger X2 did not get very positive reception from fans because they sort of made a lot of misfires, especially with it taking a lot of development resources from Astro Striker Gunvolt 3.
Oh, yeah.
So it sort of depends. They need the Inti Crates also is sort of starting to fall into the same trappings of too many games too quickly.
Well, we'll see what happens with them too, but
for sure.
But yeah. All right, so I think that about does it for this show. To be quite honest, I'm actually, first of all, OneOneTwo, thank you for joining me for this. I'm actually really happy that we actually got to do this. It's been like almost a year since that we wanted to do this, and here we are.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and thank you for inviting me on personally. Just the passion that this fan base shows in general over the course of its 35 years, because this is the 35th anniversary of the series.
Oh yes,
and
December.
The sort of just insane level of dedication that all of us have towards Mega Man is just a wonderful thing to see. This series may be a little bit harder than average, but it encourages players to get better, to repeat the games, to play them over and over and master them, is something that very few other series have. And how the story is built and evolved over the course of 35 years, there's a few bad games, but in general, it's mostly consistent with how high quality it is. And I do think that we're in for a great time with where the series goes next. I cannot wait.
Exactly. So before we sign off, where can we find you, OneOneTwo?
Well, you can find me on a couple of places. I'm most frequently on the Mega Man subreddit, so discord.gg/Megaman or reddit.com/r/Megaman. I'm one of the administrators there. I also want to give a shout out to my other team members at the R Mega Man subreddit. They've all just been wonderful and helping the subreddit grow and improve. Lineman, Rhythm, Zandon, Letter W, Rhythm, Killer Tor, Rhapsody, everyone there has just been, and everyone else, I'm sorry if I missed anyone's name, but and Mega Master X, everyone else who has been at the R Mega Man subreddit, helping us grow and improve, you mean the world to me. And thank you for such amazing 4 or 5 years, and here's to the next few years.
Yep.
And as I said earlier, you can find me at my Twitch channel. I stream a lot of Mega Man games, obviously, and a lot of other action games. Twitch.tv/112. You spell it out first and then the numbers. And the last thing I'll just quickly plug is my Twitter. I don't tweet as frequently now. It's usually like 1 or 2 times a day, but it's twitter.com /112_112, where I mostly just talk about Mega Man, sometimes some other games I like. I'm also into Contra, Mario, Ninja Gaiden is one of my favorites, and a lot of other sort of more obscure retro games. Go play Journey to Silius. That game rocks. But thank you so much for having me on this show and just allowing me to sort of give the perspective of someone who has played every game in this series and has so much, I guess, passion for it. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate that. And it was great talking to you for this.
Yeah. And also, I want to thank everybody that came through just to watch all of us. It was a great show and in general, and I'm glad that I got to do this. So what I'm going to be doing is that I'll be moving forward. I'll figure out exactly how to better format this. Since this is the first episode, I'll be looking into this and figure out exactly what can I do to improve moving forward. But regardless, thank you all for coming through. And Ice Pick, in the future, Ice Pick, we'll probably talk about the East series in the future. I need to play more games to actually talk about it though. But anyway, Thank you all for coming through. Great show. Thanks for coming in. 112, thank you for coming through. And I'll see you guys soon in the next one. Bye now.
Bye everyone. Fight for everlasting peace.
Yep.